What's going on, Travis with RAC Garage, and in this video I'm going to finish these Chevy fenders. Alright guys, back in the garage working on these Chevy fenders. I did a little bit of work. I did a little bit more smoothing out on the top here, on the bottom here. Kind of did a lot of work in here. This is nice and smoothed out. The front here, I still need to weld this and planish this again, so I'm going to do that and then tackle this like I was talking about. So garage updates. I did a few things, so I'll show you those now. I rehooked up the wiring, the plugs on the back wall, and hooked up these plugs on this side of the wall. Might not look professional. I worked with what I had. I got this little tester that tells me if it's wired correctly, and that means correct. See? 2 yellows, correct. So I did that to all the plugs and it all shows correct, so I did it right. Back in here, I made 2 more shelves. I extended this shelf over and made this. I put these hardware racks on here. Flammable cabinet, I'm not gonna put on this. Or I might, I don't know yet. Yeah, still kind of rearranging. It's still a little messy here. Customer parts, I think, is going to be these 2 shelves down here. Maybe even some of these. You've seen the rest of it, I think. I put my little cool parts on this shelf up here. I think that's pretty cool. Other than that, I don't think there's really anything new that I've done here other than that. So let's get back to working on this fender. So I put a weld here and planished it. You can see the reflection pretty good, but there is a high spot where the weld is. I planished it too much, or there was too much weld material there. So when it got planished, it stretched out too much and created a high spot, which is fine because I have this. This is a shrinking disc, and I will show you how it works. Unlike using a torch and heat shrinking, that will create a spot and the heat will expand out and you'll get a much larger heat affected zone than you want. But with this, you turn it on and it's just literally a metal disc and it rubs metal on metal and it only hits the high spots. So it's only heating up the metal that it's touching, which is the highs, which is right here. So it's gonna hit this spot here, heat it up, and then I'm gonna hit it with a wet rag there, and it's going to shrink it. I might have to do a few passes. It's not going to shrink it down flat the first time. It's kind of a gradual thing. So hit it a few times and we'll see where we're at. Might have to planish it some more. It's a kind of a back and forth thing. I did it on the other fender. After I was done with everything, I kind of went over any highs that I felt with the old shrinking disc, and it worked beautifully. I'm going to hit that quick, hit it a few times, and we'll see where we're at. This is after the shrinking disc. That's not terrible, huh? I think that disc works pretty good. So yeah, like I said a million times, let me start shaping this piece here. This poor fender. Ooh, text message. I was gonna do a paper template and all that BS, but it's just a rectangle, so I'm just gonna measure it and cut a piece out. Really not that hard, Travis. 8 inches. That'll be plenty. And let's go 20. 8 by 20. Huh, mess. Is this a square? Yes. As close as I can make a square. Now let's see if this shear still cuts after me and Joe wrestled with the thing in the lawn to get it over here. Beautiful. This is gonna be here, but as you can see right now, don't fit. So I got this shaped the way I want it. I am going to round the corners, kind of put these clecos too far down, so I'm going to move some clecos up a little bit. Then I will scribe the fender, cut it out, and fit this back in place and get it tacked in, welded in, and plan it smooth. I got this all cut in. Gaps are pretty tight enough for me. It's looking good. I cannot wait to start welding this in, but I have to wait because this is all I can do for tonight. But it is shaping up to be a really nice panel. So once this is done and it gets planished, I think this is gonna flow real nicely. Even though it's a relatively simple panel, I think I did a good job. I got this tacked in, hammered and dollied. I'm going to knock off the highs on some of these welds that kind of blew out, and then I'm going to go and do round 2 and do tacks in between. Then I'll just go ahead and fully weld it. You guys probably know the deal already. Say that pretty much every time. For you new guys, this is how I do it. When I finish a panel, usually you just see me in fast motion, just kind of, and then with the blanching hammer, just going across and finishing it, and then bam, it's done. I'll go in a little in depth this time, just a quick little trick on part of it, on what I do. So when you're going across, and either if this happens when you're hammering the thing flat and then grinding it, or if you've run a blanching hammer over it and that you've kind of hit it with either a file or a quick light grit sandpaper, or a high grit on this, there's going to be some low spots. And you can tell those low spots because they are dark gray, because it's in the heat affected zone of the weld, and it kind of gets gray right in the center there. And after you ground it, it's nice and shiny silver. So you can spot those low spots very easily because they're dark gray. What I do most of the time to get them out is you put the dolly directly on the bottom of it, directly on that low spot, kind of push up on the dolly, and then hammer around that low spot. That should bring the low spot up, and then you can just hit it real quick with this. When I hit stuff with this, it's literally real quick. It's just light pressure. I'm not taking a ton of material off at all, because that can be a mistake with metal finishing. In low spots like this, we're creating highs by hammering around the low spot and then shaving the high off. If that made sense, cool. If it didn't, I really don't know what to tell you. I'm not good at explaining things. That's how I do it. Essentially, dolly underneath the low spot, hammer around it. It should bring that low spot up, then quick sand, and it should be nice and flush. So see, there is a low spot, there's a low spot on each side of this weld. So actually, it tells me that when I hammered it, there was more material on the top than the bottom. So it pushed it in and made a low on each side. So I can just do what I said there, put the dolly right on the bottom of that weld, hammer it around it, which will bring the weld up, and I can shave the weld off. I've kind of been doing that back here. As you can see, the weld has pretty much disappeared. I just have to do some final smoothing with the blanching hammer, final sand to smooth everything out. So I'm just kind of working my way around. See, this is just the preliminary grinding the highs off. I try to focus my wheel here on the new metal because I think the 18 gauge that I'm using is a tad bit thicker than the base metal. So if I grind heavier on this, that's totally fine. So I try to focus that. As you can see, I'm not grinding too much on this side. It's mostly on the new metal that I have here. Same on this side. So you still see the heat affected zone on the base metal, but the metal that I added, there's a bunch of grinding marks, which is the way I like to do it. So I know if I'm taking material away, it's on the thicker, slightly thicker material that I added in. So let's get back to time lapses and tedious work of getting rid of these lows and highs. Here is the center patch I did. It's not perfect, but it is good enough for this Fender. I think I did a pretty good job. I just have a lot of hours in this patch, and I'm just gonna call it. This crack's all done. I filled in these holes here. You better see them from the backside. 2 holes here. It's a big patch in the center. And then this flange back here. So this is gonna be the second largest patch of this Fender. See, obviously this one was way worse than that one, but it's shaping up to be just as good. I'm gonna make this one here and that bottom flange at the same time. This shape right here, you saw me trying to start to stretch something. I started making this, and you know, it's almost in there. It's a real tough shape. That top here, it doesn't just curve like this. It curves and bends down here, and then this wraps around, comes flat, and then this wraps around. It's just a really complex curve and shape to make that I don't have the skills for yet. I probably could do it, but it would take me way too long. I'm gonna make it in a couple pieces. I got this top piece on here now. It's sitting nice and flat, kind of a curve here, and then it goes the other way, this way. So now I'm just making this piece. What did I do? Got this for here. So I'm gonna cut that out, weld it to this, smooth it out. Then I'm actually gonna cut on the line here, and then I'll just fade the weld out as that detail line there. my God. All right, I am such a dummy. And so I was making this patch for the lower half of that fender, and you know, I'm using this fender as a template because it's the same curve and it's got all the correct cutouts and all of this. But instead of putting it on top so it would be a mirror image, I've put it like this and started making the patch for this that doesn't need it. Let's yeah, let's get started again. All right, so this is all bent up. As you can see, it follows this shape perfectly, and it's a mirror image. It's not the same one like I did before. I got this piece all shaped up. I am so proud of this piece here. It's just a pretty difficult piece to make. Well, I guess, I don't know. It was kind of simple. It just came out really good. Can't wait to weld it in, planish it in, and see the fruits of my labor like this. Planish it in, have it nice and smooth. Pretty much. So I gotta weld this and then cut and weld this one out. Because I made this one, I kind of took the shortcut and made it out of 2 pieces because I just couldn't do it out of 1. No big deal. But this one, man, this one came out great. It's only held on by 1 clamp. It wouldn't need the clamp if the bottom of this fender had the flange still on it, but the flange is gone, so this kind of just opens up. The holes are matched to the one that's complete. It's just ready to be cut and welded in. And then I have this piece here that is a mirror of this little extra piece here, so that's going to be welded in afterwards. See, this is matched. See all the holes already drilled in it, elongated, ready to go. It is matched up with, come on, matched up with this piece. See, it's got a weird angle on it. So all this here, you saw me have to shrink it. It's kind of tough to make. Easy but tough. Like, I guess it's tougher than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be an angle. Just shrunk around the flange to fit the curve, but it was a lot more than that. So probably just clamp it, scribe it, and cut it. So let me, let's do that. So I got the little bit of Dykem on here, and I scribed a line where that was clamped up. Also got a scribe coming down this way and over. I'm gonna cut that whole piece out and, you know, start tacking it up. As you can see, I got this stuff clecoed on here. It's fitting pretty good. Got that corner radius, and I bent this around to match the lip on here. It's not perfect. The center here needs to come in because right now it's kind of like just a straight piece. It didn't curve the way I wanted it to. I can fix that with just a hammer, so I'm going to do that after it's all welded, just so it was kind of tough hanging on to just this tiny piece to make that. So I think it'll be easier to hold on to the whole fender and beat that into shape. Nothing left to do really but to tack it and weld it. All right, so I am on the home stretch with these fenders. This fender is almost done. There's just a couple cracks along the fender lip that I just need to address. That should be really quick. And then I need to spot weld in this little doubler piece that goes right there. Wow, was this a journey? So this fender is now complete. Look at that finish. Contour SCT really brought this whole thing together. Look at that. And here's the first one I did. Wow. Yeah. From these nasty dirt patches. So this guy was right here. Like it didn't even happen. Look at that. Boom! Okay. This guy, oh man. Oh man. Then this bottom edge, I replaced this bottom edge because A, it was Swiss cheese, and B, there was, you know, some pitting on the backside and some brass repairs that, you know, wasn't that great. Where was the patch? Where did it go? Damn. That was the bottom there. That's gone. And this little front nose area here, you can see where I welded it in. It was kind of thin here, and I didn't replace the whole thing because it's very complex shape and it would take me way too long to do it. It just wouldn't be worth it, and it's underneath the headlight, so I didn't really pay too much attention to this, but I needed to take care of this, and that got addressed nicely. Two holes that were here, like I said, were here. You can see everything from the backside. See those two holes, that little nose section, this big repair in the center that whole bottom lip area. And also that double that's there. I don't know if you can see that, it's a little dark. But yeah, that's the skinny. And then just a plethora of dents that were up in this area. I had a bunch like this. I think it came out really well. Obviously this it's not perfect, but it's as good as I can get it. Pretty much the same on this one, but less. Just instead of a huge repair on the front, there was just a bunch of dents up there, a bunch of dents down here, tons of dents on here. So I got that nice and smooth. And then I did a patch somewhere over here. Then the front too. Front had a bunch of dents. And then this was a patch and had a ton of dents. So I'm definitely happy with them. All right, guys, thanks for hanging in there. These took way too long. It's just the nature of it. Some things just take a while. These had a lot more repairs that needed to be done than I thought. I thought it was just one fender. It happened to be two, and they were bad. But is what it is. I got it done. Thanks for hanging in there. To keep on liking, commenting, subscribing, clicking the bell, sharing my videos. I really do appreciate it. And I am getting back into the shop more, so the videos will continue as usual. Again, thanks for watching.